It's Brock Purdy's show, making his NFL starting debut, and he's back to pass, avoiding a sack over the middle. It's Kittle. He's got a first down. He's into Tampa Bay territory, and you could see early on George Kittle has been the go-to guy here, his third catch.
Now, back to Steiny and Guru on 95.7 The Game.
All righty, on the line is Audacy NFL insider Ross Tucker. Insider Calls presented by BetQL. Download the free BetQL app right now and get instant access to the industry's most advanced suite of sports betting tools right at your fingertips. And I know on the latest version of the Ross Tucker podcast, if you have any reason to hear one guy from Princeton talk to another guy from Harvard, feel free to check out Ross Tucker's podcast with KYle Juszczyk. What's up, Ross? Welcome.
What's up, guys? It's always good to hear your voice and talk with you guys, and it was pretty wild. I didn't realize this was Juszczyk's 11th year already. That is crazy, man.
Yeah, it is.
I did a bunch of his games when he was in college at Harvard playing tight end, and when you watch him play, he doesn't look old. He's not playing old, and I thought it was funny. One of the coolest things he said was he's been to 7 Pro Bowls, and he found out that John Lynch has 9. I said, how long are you going to play? He's like, till I get at least 10 Pro Bowls, one more than John Lynch. And then he said that might not even be enough. He might want to keep playing after that. So he's not slowing down anytime soon.
Ross, I got to ask you about the addition of Chase Young. Last time you and I talked, Steiny wasn't here. The Niners were kind of their version of down bad, losers of 3 in a row. What did you make of last week and the addition of Chase Young? And has it changed your viewpoint on where this Niner team can get in regard to maybe beating Philly?
Yeah, no, I mean, I already thought that the Niners were up there with Philly and to a little bit lesser extent, the Detroit Lions as the best teams in the NFC. And I think the Cowboys are probably up there with the Lions as well. Still, in my mind, a step behind Philadelphia and San Francisco. I was a little bit puzzled by the 3-game losing streak for the Niners, but now that they got their guys back in Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel, and obviously the way Chase Young played, they look like they're as good as anybody, right? And they played like that at Jacksonville, and they are, and they'll face each other in the regular season in a couple weeks here, and then there's a pretty good chance they'll face each other again in the postseason. But I thought that was a big-time addition by the Niners, no question. I mean, you get to these games, and unless all the Niners quarterbacks get hurt again, I would expect it to be a close, competitive game. And so it comes down to the end, and maybe Chase Young gets that key pressure or that key sack in a key moment as the Eagles double-team Bosa, or maybe Lane Johnson's able to block Bosa. The thing is Mailata, the left tackle for the Eagles, he has struggled a little bit with Chase Young, whereas we know how good Lane Johnson is. So I wonder if that was part of the equation for the Niners to get Chase Young, was knowing that Mailata has struggled a little bit with him.
Where do you find numbers like that where you can dissect individual blocking matchups?
That is a great question, and they should have that because they have it in baseball, right?
Well, like
comes out.
Like, how do you know Chase Young does well against him? From film, probably.
Because
right?
I watch every snap of every Eagles game.
Yeah, yeah, interesting.
Because of all the Philadelphia media stuff I do.
Sure.
I do the pregame show on the radio, and then I go on WIP 3 times. I do a couple Eagles shows during the week. They're the one team that I have to really make sure I watch every snap of. And,
sure.
It's interesting because Mailata is so big that typically you would think it would be like speed, but Young kind of got him with power a couple times. They faced off against each other twice this year, and Chase Young fared pretty well both times. So if you're the Niners, you got to be thinking, heck, let's get a guy that we know can be productive against the Eagles left tackle, since clearly the Eagles are the Niners' biggest threat in the NFC.
Interesting.
That is,
I didn't think about that.
That's a good question. Hey, Ross, let me tell you real quick, if you don't know the dynamic of the show. I'm the fan. My guy's more like the reporter, and I'll use lines like Steiny. 49er fans are tired of being close. 2019, the Super Bowl, the NFC Championship games. But to hear Kyle come on your podcast and you being a former player, because I've echoed these words, Super Bowl or bust. I know Kyle's not getting fired. He doesn't deserve to. He just got the extension. But from a fan base, when you look at this Niner team on both sides of the ball, they're loaded. As a former player, what did that mean coming from Juszczyk? Because as a fan, I appreciated hearing him say that.
Yeah, well, and I hope people check that out and the whole interview out, because it was really interesting talking about the Harvard-Yale game, and he talked about that being a top 5 game in his life, and that game is on Saturday. But he said a lot about Brock Purdy, and he confirmed that Brock Purdy does, in fact, have to shave every once in a while. I was very curious about that. He said he does have a little bit of stubble. I haven't seen it. But he said, listen, I hate to say Super Bowl or bust, because then it becomes a headline and whatever. He said, but the reality is, with what we've done as a team and where we're at, that they probably are going to be disappointed they don't win the Super Bowl, or at least get there, and I don't blame them. I mean, that's the way the world is, and honestly, probably the way it should be. I mean, they're going to be disappointed in Kansas City if they don't go to the Super Bowl and win it. They're going to be disappointed in Philadelphia, I can assure you, if they don't go to the Super Bowl and win it. When you're one of the best teams, that's what you're going for. It's like Ohio State fans are upset if they don't beat Michigan or go to the college football playoff. It's a down season if they win every other game.
Right. Ross Tucker joining us on 95.7 The Game. He's our Audacy NFL insider. Ross, let me ask you a question, because you played on the offensive line. Trent Williams is obviously a great offensive lineman. Even if you don't know offensive line play, like I don't, is there any way you could give me an example of what a defense might do knowing a Trent Williams won't be in the lineup and his backup will be in the lineup?
Yeah, good question. And so a lot of it is just who you put over him, right? Like, if you're going against the Niners without Trent Williams, you want to try to take advantage of that, and you might even put your best pass rusher over the left tackle in that game because you want to test the backup. Look, I went 3 years in a row, guys, where I didn't start the opener. But then there were injuries, and I got inserted midway through the year, or maybe a guy played bad or whatever. And I can tell you, I still remember my first start for the Buffalo Bills. 2003, we're playing at the Giants, and the first third down and long of the game, they slid Michael Strahan inside over me. And I was like, I can't swear on the radio, but I was like, oh no, because that you're considered the weak link, until you prove otherwise, you're the weak link, and they're going to test you. When Trent Williams is in there, they might never even put their best guy over him, because they might think, we don't want our best guy to be neutralized by Trent. Let's put him over one of the guards. Let's put him over the right tackle, because we don't want Trent to just erase our best guy. It makes a big difference.
Ross, last time we wrapped, you gave us some great insight about Brock Purdy in his college years. It's about to be his anniversary, a year when he took over. And I got to tell you, man, this is an apology to Deebo Samuel, because I told Steiny and the fans, you know what, McCaffrey's here, Ayuk's taking a step, Kittle, maybe he's expendable. But during that 3-game losing streak, he was pretty much out of all 3. How important is Deebo to a guy like Brock Purdy, to where the defense has to always try to account for him?
Yeah, it's interesting, because I thought that was a little bit overstated, Guru, but then it ended up being a really big deal, it felt like. I thought they had enough other guys with Kittle and Ayuk and McCaffrey that they could kind of get by better with Deebo.
Yeah.
And I'm not ready yet to say that everything that happened during the losing streak was because Deebo was out. But I think the thing that's interesting about Deebo is he is a guy that they specifically design offense for, and also a guy, to your Trent Williams question, that the defense specifically is like always worried about and wondering about him, right? So if you get rid of him, there's not really like a where's Waldo situation. You know where Kittle's going to be, kind of. He's the tight end. You know McCaffrey as the running back. When Deebo's out there, literally every play, you kind of have to talk. Deebo's in the slot. Deebo's in the backfield. He's out there. And I think it's a little bit of it's like the mental part of always having to worry about where he's at.
Wow.
Hey, Ross, before we let you go, I know you're familiar with all sports. And, in fact, I try to remind people that not only did you play professional football, but you also played basketball at Wyoming High School. So, as somebody who knows it, let me just ask you this. You like Draymond Green?
How do I say this?
The silence is deafening, but go ahead.
Well, here, I got kind of mixed emotions. I don't like the way he carries himself sometimes and some of the things he says, but you're also talking to a former football player, an NFL offensive lineman that really, really enjoys physicality and violence. So I don't know a nice way to put this, but so often in basketball, when there's like a disagreement or an argument, it's like they just get in each other's face and they're like, it's almost like, some of the prep school guys at Princeton, right? Where they'd be like, I'll beat you up. No, I'll beat you up. No, I'll punch you. No, I mean, I would get bored. I'd be like, can someone just throw a punch already? Can somebody throw a punch? I need to go get another beer. I've been waiting for 8 minutes for you guys. Like, just punch each other, please. Entertain me. So I appreciate the fact that Draymond actually carries out the physicality at times. And I don't know how that'll be perceived by people, and I don't really care. Sure. But you asked me a question, that's the answer. I don't follow it closely enough to have a strong opinion on him one way or the other. I feel like some of the things he verbally says annoy me, but then the fact that he is willing to take it to the next level, I have an appreciation for.
Yeah, man, he can take it to that next level.
Yeah, Draymond carries it out, he said. I like that.
Hey, Ross, thanks as always. Appreciate it. And hopefully we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Sounds great, guys. Yeah, Wednesday. I don't know when that game is, but we better talk that week.
Absolutely.
Oh, no
absolutely.
doubt. Yeah.
And he's talking about the Eagles,
yes,
everybody.
Fly,
right, thanks,
Eagles,
Ross.
fly.
That was Audacy NFL insider Ross Tucker. Insider Calls presented by BetQL. Download the free BetQL app right now and get instant access to the industry's most advanced suite of sports betting tools right at your fingertips.